Today, guys, we're going to be talking about the state of anime. Yes, because of the boom of solo leveling recently, and this is the last couple of years with Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer, it's been going crazy. Anime is now mainstream. This is the help of back in the days, the big three, Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece, of course, and of course the OG Dragon Ball before that as well. But today I brought my boy Reek here, so introduce yourself, Reek.
Yo, what's good, you guys? Underrated man, Reek. I got a whole bunch of different channels, but right now, y'all just call me Reek or Underrated man. Listen, I want to say I'm probably the most knowledgeable anime person on this YouTube app. So whatever I'm saying, trust me, it's not coming from any feelings, just straight up facts. Let's get it. Shout out to Mac, OG. He's been helping me out a lot. We go back way almost 10 years. So this is my boy right here.
Yeah, this is my guy right here. I can't lie to you. We've been talking about anime and manga for years, so this is not just a random person. Yeah, today I'm gonna ask him because he actually has a lot of knowledge on the new scene of anime. So I really want to ask him, and he has a lot of knowledge on the old scene when it comes to the big three and Dragon Ball. So that's why I'm gonna ask him the state of anime. I brought him here for a specific reason, and my first question is, when it comes to the state of anime, do you feel like Demon Slayer has like that big effect on why anime and manga is the way it is right now? Because Demon Slayer went crazy, like it surpassed at One Piece in manga sales, and everybody was watching it. I think it honestly made anime mainstream in a sense. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, I definitely do think that Demon Slayer, I really want to say the pandemic, that's really what made anime mainstream. Because once the pandemic happened, then everybody was locked in. They were forced to be at home. So they couldn't really do anything. Us people who already was watching anime, we already knew how lit it was. But to people who didn't know about anime or to casuals, they had to sit down and watch the 5,000 episodes of One Piece or the 10,000 episodes of Naruto. So strangely enough, the pandemic, it actually did help for anime's popularity. So once that happened, Demon Slayer, it was already popular beforehand. But then add everybody being locked indoors to the success of Demon Slayer already happening, that's what really did help Demon Slayer. And me personally, I believe that Demon Slayer, it did have a huge change on the anime manga industry, because beforehand, what was popular was long running shonen, like the big three that was carrying anime and manga, Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. We already know about that. But then once Demon Slayer came, it kind of changed the whole mode, because whenever a newer series came out, it would try to copy the big three formula, like Black Clover, My Hero Academia, Seven Deadly Sins. They were all trying to do the big three formula, having a long running shonen. That was basically the thing. But then Demon Slayer came out, and it was popular as a short running series. Demon Slayer, I compare it to Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Not in terms of quality, because Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, that's still one of my favorite series of all time. Don't get it twisted. But in terms of, in terms of, I guess, comparison, just overall series wise, I would say Demon Slayer is a lot like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, because it's a short, we get to the point. It isn't really too, obviously, I'm not saying that Fullmetal Alchemist is like this, but in Demon Slayer's case, it wasn't too complicated. It was a very simple story. It was short and sweet, and that's how it should be. You got those series like that, like Fullmetal Alchemist, Death Note, Code Geass, those series that don't have to be long running, but they're still fire. But Demon Slayer, it came with a huge wave, and it basically just changed everything. And I think that once Demon Slayer got popular, that's when all these other series, they started doing it, like Chainsaw Man. There was another one that just ended. It's just slipping off the top of my head.
Is it called?
But basically, I'm saying that a lot of series that were, no, it's not Dadan. I don't know why I'm just forgetting, but Dadan, it might be long running, so we got to see with that. We got to see. I don't know, but basically, Demon Slayer, I think it started a wave of showing mangakas that they don't have to follow the big three route. They could just make these short and sweet series in order to be viral. So that's why I think Demon Slayer's impact was on the whole industry as a whole, because now you have shorter runner series that are popping up and becoming just as popular, like Chainsaw Man, Sakamoto Days, all that stuff. That's what my personal opinion, that's what I meant to say. I think it affected the My Hero Academia and Black Clover's running, because My Hero Academia, we already know that was set up to be a long running series, and if it would have been a long running series, it could have been better than Naruto. We don't know, but since it got rushed, I think that's what made made me and a lot of other anime fans who were fans of My Hero Academia, it kind of fell off for us. So I think that Demon Slayer definitely did influence it. Obviously, there are some other stuff like the mangaka's getting sick and all this other things, but I do think that Demon Slayer being a short-running, successful series, it basically did change the anime and manga industry as a whole.
So you said a lot of great things there. If I'm being completely honest, Demon Slayer, one of the biggest reasons why I feel like it went crazy was the animation. I think the animation was like well respected amongst the anime and manga community. So like
Facts.
and then the TikTok era, you have to understand TikTok during pandemic, yo, like those clips were going crazy. People were like, yo, what is that? So it was really good marketing for Demon Slayer. That's why it surpassed One Piece in manga sales. The movie, all those things were amazing and everything. So I think the animation was a big part of why Demon Slayer went crazy. And honestly, you know what's funny? Ever since Demon Slayer ended, a new anime has been going crazy. I kind of like inherited Demon Slayer's will in a sense, but I'm not too sure about Jujutsu Kaisen. I feel like you're more knowledgeable about Jujutsu Kaisen. I know there was a crazy Shibuya arc and the manga went crazy before it ended. But what are your thoughts on Jujutsu Kaisen? And how do you feel like it affected the state of anime in its own right?
You know, it's funny. It's funny that you brought Jujutsu Kaisen because that was the series I was thinking about when I was saying that that it didn't turn out to be long running, when it was low key set up to be long running. How Demon Slayer basically impacted it. Jujutsu Kaisen was the series that I was thinking about. Now, me personally, I'm not gonna lie. I think Jujutsu Kaisen had a lot of potential. I just think it's in the same boat as My Hero Academia, where it was set up to be long running at least. Okay, My Hero Academia, I think it could have been like 700 chapters if they had the time skip and if they fleshed out the world building like how they set it up to be. But with Jujutsu Kaisen, I think it could have been around 400 to 500 chapters. And I basically think that Jujutsu Kaisen, it was rushed. Like there was a lot of things that were rushed. Like they never explored any of the top families, like the Gojo family, any of that. So I think that was a part. They never showed us Sukuna's past. Like, there's a lot of things that they just rushed and that we didn't get to see from Jujutsu Kaisen. I think that it was rushed. And again, I think it was because the author saw that how popular it was and how big it got. Because Jujutsu Kaisen, when it was coming out and it was ongoing, it was the biggest series of like the current times. Like, it was huge. So I think the author, he got his money, he did. He wasn't too focused on trying to make a long-running series that actually touched all points. And you can even ask Jujutsu Kaisen fans, like the fanboys, the diehards, they will even say that the series felt rushed and there's a lot of things that was left out. So I think that Jujutsu Kaisen, it falls to the same boat as My Hero Academia. For me personally, it had some good arcs, but ultimately it didn't hit its full potential that it should have hit. And I definitely do think that if it was taken, like treated like a One Piece, like a long running series, we could have got so many more amazing fights. I think the fights in the Jujutsu Kaisen are great. The way how they handle the fights, they're good. I like them. I wish other series handled them like that. We might talk about it later on, but looking at you, Fairy Tail. But I think that Jujutsu Kaisen, the fights, they do that good, but the storytelling and all that stuff, that's where it really dropped the ball at.
Yeah, I noticed that with Jujutsu Kaisen, the fights, like, because when Demon Slayer came out, there wasn't really a lot of discussion on like power scaling. But when Jujutsu Kaisen came out, all I seen was like Gojo versus Goku and like crazy like matchups and everything. Like, I'm not the most knowledgeable on this series, but make a bunch of like fights and versus battles and everything. I think it's doing a really good job in that aspect. But I was shocked that it ended pretty early for that much like success. I felt like you could have easily made that series the next Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, like a long-running series that went for at least over a decade. But it seemingly looks like the new era of anime seems to be like short-running series, which I'm an old school guy, so you know I'm gonna prefer the long-running anime and manga. But that leads me to my most important question. What made me want to make this video, I'm seeing the solo leveling hype that's going on, and I gotta get your answer, bro, because I know you're tapped in with the new generation anime. So what is your thoughts on this whole solo leveling hype, the manga, the anime? Let us know. You know all the information. Tell us, bro.
Listen, I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. If you're an anime only, you might not understand. But if you were reading Solo Leveling when it was coming out, here's what they're comparing it to: the big three of manhwa. Because a lot of people don't know Solo Leveling. It's not a manga; it's a manhwa. It's basically the Korean manga, but it's colored and you read it like how you would read a regular comic book, like left to right instead of right to left. So with Solo Leveling, when the manhwa was ongoing, it was being compared to Tower of God and God of High School. Those two are basically the GOAT of manhwa. was. It's Tower God. It's basically like One Piece, but Korean version. I literally compare it to One Piece. Like, it's just as good. The writing is just as great. Honestly, if you're a One Piece fan, you would like Tower God. It's just that good. A lot of foreshadowing, a lot of stuff. Tower God, the manhwa is amazing. Then God of High School, it's kind of like an action series. It's kind of like how Naruto was. It was very good. So when you're comparing Solo Leveling to those two series, it literally falls short. Me personally, I would say Solo Leveling, it's mid. I'm just being honest. The reason I'm saying it's mid is because the best thing about it is the main character. Let's be honest. Gun to your head, name 5 other characters besides Sung Jin-woo. You're going to say Chai Han, and then you can't name any of Sung Jin-woo's summoning. So you can't name Biru. You can't name any of the, you can't name the bear. You can't name the orc. You got to name actual real life people, and you can't. Solo Leveling, I haven't watched the anime. Well, I watched a couple of it, but I'm not caught up. I'm sure the anime is basically... Yo, shout out to Owl Daddy. He says that Solo Leveling is even close to One Piece. It's not. It's an enjoyable series, but when you get down to it and you start looking at it, it's one of those series that One Punch Man honestly mocks. One Punch Man, it basically is a parody because it has its overpowered main character that just goes around beating down everybody. That's literally what Solo Leveling is. You got the overpowered main character just running around beating down everybody. And if you're watching it, I'm pretty sure the anime is doing a great job of carrying it. Low key, like how people said Demon Slayer's anime did, but Solo Leveling, there's just too much focus on the main character, and I think that's where the problem lied at. Like, the main character is really the only person who gets shined, and it gets kind of boring and repetitive because you're thinking, okay, I know Sung Jin-woo is gonna be here. Like, trust, once we get to a certain part, like right now, I think the anime is at the whole Chimera Ant rip-off arc. That's another thing. It's literally ripped off of the Chimera Ant arc with the whole Jeju Island. So, but once the anime is past the Jeju arc, I think that a lot of people will start to see the flaw with Solo Leveling, how it only focuses on Sung Jin-woo, and it really just doesn't focus on anybody else. So that's my problem with Solo Leveling. I think it's mid compared to the best manhwa, and then when you compare it to like One Piece and all the other series, I don't think it holds up at all. The main character is literally the only good thing. It would be like if Luffy was the best thing and everybody else was fodder, and Luffy's just one-shotting Shanks, Kaido, the Gorosei. If Luffy's just beating all them by himself, that's Solo Leveling for you.
Damn, so I kind of like, you just give a really great rundown on that series. I've been seeing a lot of hype for, so what I'm getting is the side character needs more side character development, not just the main character beating up on everybody. I really am gonna go do a deep dive on Solo Leveling in the future soon, guys, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, you definitely gave a really good rundown on Solo Leveling, so that leads to my next question. We all miss it, the big 3 era. Let's be honest here. That's what made anime who it is today. And we all know that Bleach anime came back recently. Boruto's going crazy as well. And One Piece is in its final saga. So the big 3 is still here, even though it's kind of like an old era. So what are your thoughts on comparing the big 3 to the new generation? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, do you think there's a valid comparison to Bleach, Naruto, One Piece to these new series? Or like, what are your thoughts? I want to hear what you think.
Now that you brought that up, we can basically do a perfect comparison to the big 3 because, like you said, the big 3 is still here. It's still as popular. It's not as popular because obviously there's a lot of things like the animes aren't ongoing and all that. Boruto's anime's been trash. Bleach, the manga's not even ongoing, so of course it's not going to be as popular. But we can compare in terms of quality. The big 3 are a big 3 for a reason. Those series stood the test of time. We see that even 10 years later, Naruto ended 2014, 2015. 10 years later, it's still popular. One Piece still popular. Bleach, even without its manga, is still popular. The anime is still popular. So the big 3, it stood the test of time. Will we be able to say that about Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man, Solo Leveling? Will we really be able to say that about these newer series? I don't know. The only reason why we might be able to say that about Demon Slayer, and trust me, I have a Demon Slayer channel, Tanjiro. I'm not a Demon Slayer hater. I enjoyed it. I love it for what it is. But we gotta be honest, the animation does carry Demon Slayer, okay? I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying it's a bad series, but the animation is the highlight to the casual eyes. Now, obviously, once Kokushibo, the Upper Moon One, once those guys get animated, it will be a different story. But I think that the newer series right now, we can't really say because time will tell. We know that One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, they stood the test of time, but honestly, we're gonna have to wait to see how they're gonna pan out because right now we see Demon Slayer, it's not really making noise. It's only really making noise once the anime is back. Jujutsu Kaisen, low key, it fell off. It used to be trending every single time, but once the anime ended, once the manga ended, people aren't really talking about it as much. Versus the big three like Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, they were still getting hyped. Even Bleach, which is the least popular of the big three, it was still getting hyped up even without any anime or manga. So I don't know if the new generation will be able to reach that level of success. Yeah, it will trend, but it's kind of like fast food. Fast food, you go out to eat fast food, it's going to fill you for the moment, but you're going to want to eat something healthy, cook at home to get actual real substance. The big three, those are those home cooked meals, the real substance that's going to last you. Whereas fast food is kind of like with the new generation, you're going to get it, it's here right now, but once it's gone, it might not be as, relevant, it might not be as good. So I don't know. Honestly, I'm going to have to say time will tell when it comes to the new generation.
Yeah.
On it, then we're gonna have to wait and see. So right now, I still got the big three over the new generation, miles ahead. There are some sleepers in there like Blue Lock, maybe Sakamoto days, but as a whole, no. I still think that the big three, that era was way better than what we got going on quality wise.
Okay, that's a good take. Honestly, I feel like the big three. One thing it has that's the new gen doesn't really have is attachment. Like we've been following the series of big three for so long, and it created so many discussions. Whether it comes to the story, whether it becomes to the endings, whether it becomes to the power scaling. Power scaling goes a long way when it comes to anime and manga expanding because
Yo,
Dragon
facts.
Ball. Look at Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is the most popular anime of all time, and power scaling is its only like its main thing is power scaling. Like yo, Vegeta, yo, your power level is over 9,000. Like those jokes and everything, but still, Dragon Ball Super came out of nowhere with Ultra Instinct and these new forms. So you have to understand. Even recently with the Super Saiyan 4 Daima from Daima, I'm not too like up to date.
Yo,
With it,
yeah.
yeah, I know that Dragon Ball is a big pioneer when it comes to that. So I feel like when it comes to the big three, we have an attachment to it, and the new gen haven't really proven it yet. But because it's ending, the series are ending too. My Hero Academia, Black Clover, and all these series are ending sooner than we actually think. Seven Deadly Sins, like I can go far, I can just keep naming series that ended, especially with Jujutsu Kaisen Demon Slayer becoming the new gen anime and it's over while One Piece is still going on and it's part of the big three. That says a lot. So I think honestly when it comes to the state of anime, unless Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Soul Leveling bring out a bunch of movies like Dragon Ball did, like bringing those movies out, like that would be cool to see if they can extend the series longer. Then the new gen anime, it's gonna be a thing where we're just gonna have to wait for new gen anime. So it's never gonna be another big three, but there's gonna be different eras of new gen anime. Like that's the only way I can see it actually comparing to the big three era. But right now, I don't know if that's the way to go because long running series leaves an impression and these new series doesn't really leave an impression. So yeah, that's my final thoughts on this whole state of the anime discussion. I want to hear your final thoughts though, because you are way more tapped into me.
Final thoughts. I think that anime, while it has gotten more popular and mainstream, the quality of the series that people are seeing is not as quality as the big three era. Like the big three era, there was just so many great long running series. And I guess it's good for casuals because casuals are getting in. Like we had like Full Metal Alchemist, like Cowboy Bebop, Code Geass, Death Note, all these short running series. And I guess that the newer generation, that's what they're kind of having right now. They're enjoying it real time. They're enjoying these short running good series real time, okay series real time. So I think that once we get a long running series that's new and that can carry on the mantle that the big three set, then anime will truly be back to its golden days. Right now, I think that there's just a lot of variety, and the variety it's good, but it ends too quickly. So then you're forced to move on in terms of, building a fan base. So right now, I don't think that anime is in a bad state. I just think it's in a different state than for what a lot of people like us grew up on. And it's kind of weird adjusting to it. You might like a series, then give it 2 or 3 months, it's already over. So I think that's something that we will have to get used to. But from a casual standpoint, I think that anime, and from a business standpoint, I still do think that it's still going to be flourishing. It's still going to be doing well. Even though we might not like it, I still do think it's going to still continue to get popular. It might not be as popular, but I don't think it's necessarily dead either. It's in a good state.
Yeah, even I think honestly One Punch Man and like Attack on Titan kind of like motivated that like new era that we're seeing right now. Like back in the days, those series coming out and taking over the fandom, it was kind of like the pioneer to like the new gen becoming like short series like taking over now with Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, and now Solo Leveling. But yeah, I think anime is a really interesting spot. I feel like it's in a revolutionary spot. It's like it's changing of the guard in a sense. Yes, I'm a big 3 fan. I'm a huge big 3 fan, but I have to accept it. Like this is the new gen anime, and I gotta see for what it's worth. I might not be the biggest fan of it compared to the big 3, but the good thing is One Piece is still running, guys. So that's a great thing for me.